Hey y'all, welcome back to Stay Geek. In this video, what you see here is a box. And this video is not going to be about this box so much. It's going to be kind of about what's in the box. But what it's really going to be about is Batman. So before we get into that, I wanted to show you, this is a box that I got that contains a Treasury edition from Marvel Comics. Back in the 70s and 80s, Marvel Comics was publishing these very large size comic book formats known as Treasury editions. They usually took the form of film adaptations. So your Star Wars, Planet of the Apes, I believe, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Battlestar Galactica, and others were put into the Treasury edition format. Well, I've ordered one from eBay, and I just wanted to show you that this is how you package a Treasury edition. The seller did a fantastic job on packaging this book and protecting it so that it got to me unharmed in the mail. So you can see here they put a Fragile sticker on it, notifying the post office that this is from Italy, so they need to handle it with care. That's Fragile. Open it up. Let's see what we have in here. Look at this. You got some amazing layer of bubble wrap. By the way, I'm not big on unboxing videos. This is a rare exception. And then you got these three cardboard cylinders, and they're very, you know, they're sturdy, man. 3 of those, and we're still not at the bottom of the box. A couple of pages of card stock, which actually I think I could use for cleaning comic books. This is good material, so that's recyclable. I can use that. Another layer of this nice bubble wrap. That's cool. The actual item itself, which is wrapped in yet another layer of bubble wrap. And then the item is wrapped in a nice little media bag. And so there it sits. A Treasury edition I have coveted for very long. For a very, very long time. And we will be getting into taking a look at that at a later date. So I was very impressed today with the packaging, and I just thought I'd show it off. So if you ever buy a Treasury edition, you want to hope you get it in packaging like this. It's not, you know, it could have been overkill. I've seen books come in where they're just like super packaged and it's like ridiculous. But that was perfect. I appreciated that. I messaged that seller and told them that. Today we're going to be looking at Batman Chronicles. I mentioned this in an earlier video. Batman Chronicles, these were published by DC. Let's see here. I don't know exactly when. I want to say probably like in the 90s. But what they are is they're chronological stories of Batman. So starting with Detective Comics number 27, which was the first appearance of Batman. I'm just trying to look for, oh yeah, 2005 is when they started publishing these editions. I don't know how many there are, but this is volume 1. And so this encompasses looks like the first three appearances of Batman in Detective Comics, and then it gets into Batman number 1. It shows you all the stories in that. Back then, I think they were publishing a lot of pages in the comics. You know, maybe like 30 to 60, maybe 80 pages in some of these comics. That's just how they did it back then. And you know, they charged you 10 cents, unlike the like $7.99 you're going to pay for a comic that big today. So the interesting thing I found about this book, one of the many interesting things is, as I mentioned in a previous video, there was a big kerfuffle about Batman killing people in the Batman versus Superman movie that came out in 2016. This enraged many Batman fans who thought that it was not in accordance with Batman's character. But in fact, indeed, the original Batman issues have him wiping out quite a few criminals. And I went through and bookmarked all of those locations because I'm a weirdo. And we start here with Fred Stryker. This is pretty much your basic 2-bit criminal that Batman. Now look. In all fairness, Stryker pulls a gun on Batman. And you gotta love that early Batman cowl there, with the small ears. But yeah, Stryker pulls a gun on him, and Batman socks him, knocks him over the edge of this boat, into this acid tank, where he promptly dies. So that was in the first issue. So, a lot of people made a big deal about Batman killing people, and they got very angry at the director and writer, Zack Snyder. Snyder didn't write the entire movie. He had help. The name of the other screenwriter escapes me, but nothing gets on film unless Snyder approves it. And I don't know exactly when the no guns and the no killing credo was applied to Batman by DC Comics, or which writer was responsible to it, but they pretty much have stuck with that for probably longer, the longer majority of the Batman comics than what you see here, the early comics where he's killing some criminals. So, when people make a big deal about not honoring the source material, well, you can't really get upset with Zack Snyder when Batman originally was killing criminals. Now, he wasn't just doing it like wantonly. He wasn't slaughtering people, although there is quite a hit list in this book. Whereas, in the movie, if you've seen it, he's like mowing down criminals like left and right. En masse, just, massive machine guns and so forth. So, anyway, there is some impetus for that type of behavior from Batman. We've seen it before. This is the evidence. So here we got Jewel Thief, who I call Jewel Thief number 2. As you can see here, he does this flip move on him. This guy pulls a knife. Batman flips him up and over the roof. He's dead. I mean, I assume he's dead. Like, who can survive that fall? And then we've got, this is a great cover. Really early on, you can start to see sort of the gothic feel for this comic. This too, this sort of brooding, dark figure coming in. And then you got, Dr. Death here. Okay, so the name is, that's very goth, right? Kind of sitting in his lair of mischief. He's got the skull on the books, on the tomes, and he's making all kinds of concoctions to do nefarious deeds. He's got these little gas tanks here and so forth. So early on in the comics, Bruce Wayne is always smoking a pipe. Probably couldn't do that today. And he usually is wearing like these types of sort of checked suits, which were popular back in the day. It's 1940, I believe. Some really good action, movement, just really establishing up front, what Batman is capable of doing, getting into the lore, the lines, the pulleys. Here he used suction cups. That was really played up in the Batman 60s TV show. I'm not a big fan of the suction cups. This is straight out of Art Deco right here, or pop art, I should say, actually. That could be a Lichtenstein painting. He probably was. He probably sold it for $6 million. Great shot of the Batman sneaking in. These guys are, they're on to him, so they're gonna ambush him. Then some violence ensues, but nobody necessarily dies yet. Some folks take a beating. Batman actually, what you see here is actually they attack him with gas, and he escapes out the window. Rooftop, does a jump, gets out, gets away. So really got into a pickle. Gets back into his car. He's tending a wound on his shoulder. You know, so you kind of see that concept, like in the Batman Begins movie, where he does the same thing. He sneaks into a tenant apartment building, and he gets ambushed by Scarecrow, and actually gets set on fire, and has to beat it out of there real quick. And he, you know, I think ends up falling a couple of fire escape levels down, and makes it down to the ground, or Alfred picks him up, or he gets back to the Bat car or something like that. So early on, establishing that type of scenario, you know, where he doesn't always get, you know, he's not invincible. Sometimes he gets his butt kicked. Sometimes he gets into a situation that's one that he can't handle. Anyway, the perpetrator of all these dastardly deeds is Dr. Death. And, you know, I think this one qualifies as a murder. So he breaks in, he busts him, and, you know, we get this, you know, "You are too late, my foe. Watch the fiery death." And he flings this canister, and it ignites into a blazing inferno, which Dr. Death kind of just like goes up in flames, you know, "Ha ha ha, you fool, you fool." And you have the Batman, "You are the poor fool, he has gone mad." And Dr. Death burns to death. So, you know, he made no attempt to save him, I guess is what I'm saying. And so I think that qualifies as another kill. And let's see. Let me get a little further on into the story. Okay, so the Cossack, Mikhail. He's the villain in this particular story. Batman pays him a visit in his kind of sparse, minimalist, rundown apartment. And, of course, he pulls a gun, shoots at him. Batman gets out, and he starts to look for him. Batman comes swinging in. You imagine what the physics are there. And basically snaps his neck. So, I think, you know, and he says, you know, "First Jabba, now you," and yet Dr. Death lives on. So, it's assumed in this story that Dr. Death didn't burn up in the fire, although I believe he did. They come to find out. But anyway, bottom line there is that he just kind of rather violently kills the Cossack, Mikhail. This is a classic cover, you know, again, kind of establishing that gothic look or feel to the Batman myths, you know. I think you can buy posters of this. Yeah, here we go. 64 pages of thrill-packed action for 10 cents. Man, it must have been cool to be alive in the 40s. Well, except for that whole World War thing. So, what do we got here? We got a villain known as the Monk. He dresses all in red. Interesting thing about this particular issue is Bruce Wayne has a fiance by the name of Julie. So that's another thing. You know, early on, he wasn't exactly Mr., you know, Playboy party animal. He had a fiance who appears in a few issues and is even in danger, and so he has to rescue her. So long story short, he gets involved with the early version of a bat jet or bat plane. It's actually a bat copter or whirlybird. So that's, you know, long before Thanos had one. And he tangles with this Red Monk character. Incidentally, I believe we're going to see guns come out on this vehicle. Again, you know, that was something in the Batman versus Superman movie. People were freaking out because the bat jet had rather large machine guns attached to it. I believe possibly missile launchers as well. We saw that also in the Michael Keaton Batman. I want to call him Ed Burton, not Ed Wood. Batman. So, you know, the bat plane has a history of having some weapons on it. And, you know, if you're shooting bullets, I mean, you're looking to kill some people. Good appearance of a giant gorilla adversary. I don't know if you knew this, or you might, depending on your level of geekiness, but DC Comics had known for years that the more comics that had a gorilla on the cover, the better those comics sold. So they got into this mode, especially like I think in the 60s and 70s and a little bit of the 80s, where they were slapping gorillas on covers of comic books almost as often as they could. Anytime someone could come up with a gorilla type character, whether it be a villain or a hero, they were promoting them on the cover. And of course, you know, they make great characters. So he does tangle with one there. This is a two-part story. So I think he's somewhere like in Transylvania or something. He saves this lady from the monk, introduces her to his fiance. They're there ostensibly on a vacation. The fiance doesn't know that the Batman is Bruce Wayne. Then the lady that he saves, she knocks him out because she's been entranced by the monk. So she's going back to see the monk. Batman chases her. Has his bat plane that he brought over, or bat copter, or whatever. Confronts the monk and does battle with them. Monk tries to trap him. Throws him into a pit with a bunch of wolves. And he throws out some sleeping gas. I think it's sleeping gas. We would hope. We don't want to damage any animals in this production. Gets out of the trap. And turns out that the monk is actually a vampire, as was the lady that he entranced, which is why she was going back to him. So the monk is actually a vampire. Finds him in his coffin. And he kills him. Kills him with some kind of... it looks like a gun of some sort. So it's not your classic, wooden stake through the heart type of deal. Then he reunites with Julie. Yeah, I don't know who you are, but you saved my life, and I shall be forever grateful. Well, he's Bruce Wayne, honey. So, he's also the Batman. Anyway, does this count as a murder? That's why you got the question mark there. Because, he's already dead because he's a vampire, but I decided to throw it in, I mean, vampires have been known to be rehabilitated before, so. Then we get, let's see, we got some standard crime stuff. What I like about this one, though, is that, this is actually the first origin telling of the murder of Bruce Wayne's family. So it appears, I think, in this third issue of Detective Comics. Or is it the first issue of Batman? No, issue 33 of Detective Comics. So, we've seen this countless times in the different Batman movies and so forth. Kind of like this, where they, show him to be like, becomes a master scientist, trains his body to physical perfection, so Batman versus Superman, again, in that movie, is the only Batman movie that I know of that gets into a workout scene, where Bruce Wayne is just like shredding it in the gym. Don't remember that in any other, well, I guess the Chris Nolan movies probably had, some workout scenes, but they really emphasized it in Batman versus Superman because, they had to get Ben Affleck all buff to take on Henry Cavill as Superman. Anyway, I bookmarked this page. Nobody got murdered here, but there was something here that, oh yeah, I liked this because, Gotham City, which at this point they hadn't identified it. They're still calling it downtown Manhattan, which is, New York City, is under attack by this dirigible. I think they call it the dirigible of death. And, all these buildings and skyscrapers and stuff are coming down. And this again, also reminded me of Batman versus Superman in the opening scene where Bruce Wayne is flying in his vehicle through Metropolis as Bruce Wayne, trying to rescue his employees out of his building, while Superman and General Zod basically blow up the entire city. And there's even a scene here where he lifts a girder off of one of his employees. That scene is in Batman versus Superman as well. It becomes a major plot point of that movie. So, again, I think drawing on this material, here's some source material that they're drawing from. Early version of the Batmobile was sort of this big red, I don't know what kind of vehicle you would call it, but, you know, old time. It's got a bat, it's got a bat emblem on it. It's the only connection to Batman that it has, you know, which is cool. So, yeah, he's dealing with Carl Kruger. Yeah. So, Kruger, well, we'll get to Kruger in a second. He deals with some of Kruger's thugs. It appears that he kills these guys. I'm not entirely certain, though. They don't make it clear, so I didn't add them to the list. But I kind of feel like he did, because the gas, you know, I don't know if it was deadly gas or not, but those guys go away. They don't make an appearance. Kruger comes out. He's dressed to the nines, like he's a little Napoleon or whatever. And, you know, he's behind the dirigible. They do some battle on the dirigible. And Batman, you know, is trying to get him on his plane as he makes his escape. He pulls a gun on him, and he does the gas pellet thing again. That makes him unconscious. Batman bails out of the plane. Kruger flies to his death, crashes the plane into the Hudson River. No attempt to save him, so I'm counting this as a murder. Are you losing your appetite for Batman yet? I know this is disturbing material, but, you know, sometimes the truth is brutal. Let's see here. Oh, yeah. The Duke, or the Duck. It's actually the Duke d'Ortaya is his name. This particular fiend, Batman does battle with him in his fancy car, chokes him a little bit. Grabs onto his hovering Batcopter, which I believe has remote control even back then. And the Duke goes over the cliff to his fiery death in his car. Bookmark this here. No death here, but I think, to point out that he has a gun. You know, he's never supposed to have a gun. Here he is clearly with a gun. Okay, Batman has a gun, y'all. Batman has a gun right there. Okay. No guns, huh? Yeah, we'll see about that. Sheldon Lennox. What a name. This sounds like a villain. So Sheldon Lennox is actually posing as this, let's say, you know, caricature of a person of a certain ethnicity. And he's the villain. Batman does battle with him. He pulls a gun on Batman, starts shooting at him. Batman gets up close and pops him one in the head, knocks him right out the window. He falls to his death. In this one, you can even see some blood. Sheldon Lennox, yeah. He meets his end. It's a good fight scene. Gets knocked on the head there by one of the thugs. Who uses those anymore? Youngsters may not be familiar with those, but they were like weighted little weighted bags that the mafia dudes used to carry around to knock people out. You see them in the movies all the time. Gotta love that logo. The splash pages, or the opening pages by Bob Kane, it changes the Batman lettering a lot. It's all this different lettering. Yeah, it's all cool too. It's all a little bit different, which makes it unique. Visually interesting. These early comics are very visually interesting. You know, Bob Kane's artwork is fantastic, frankly. I mean, for the time, his use of silhouettes is insane. I mean, I can't remember the last time I saw a comic book that used so much silhouette all the time. And I mean, it's very apropos for what Batman is, this sort of gothic, you know, superhero. You know, this is when he was, you know, to me, more of a noir, gothic, crime-fighting detective superhero before, you know, before he was hanging out with gods and monsters, you know, part of the Justice League and whatnot. So, here we've got, I bookmarked this. Yeah, so this is another death. So this is Count Groot, a.k.a. the Head, a.k.a. Elias Turg. So this guy's got 3 names. He's got several aliases. Throws a sword at Batman like a buffoon. It sticks in the door. Batman slaps him around a little bit, knocks him right back into the sword. Sword impales him in the head. He's dead. Dead. It is better that he should die. He might have sent thousands of others to their death on a battlefield if his plans had been successful. This has been a queer case, from the old house to foreign agents and to the death of its head. Yes, a very queer case. So, you know, here we have Batman basically justifying his murder of this particular criminal. Does that make him as bad as the criminal? Is he no better than the criminal? That is for the viewer to decide. You have to, you know, really sit down and think about your own moral implications in regards to this character in these early issues. Do you agree with Batman's behavior or not? Do you care because the artwork is so freaking cool, and, you know, and the stories are actually kind of, you know, very entertaining? The villains are certainly very entertaining. It's a really good rogues gallery of villains in these issues. All right, let's see here. This guy, Zuko. So this whole scene here where he's up on these girders with Robin, this has been played out several times. Not so much, I think, in the movies. Maybe it was in the Joel Schumacher one. I think it might have been referenced there, but it's definitely been in Batman the Animated Series, where he and Robin are kind of tussling with these thugs on these girders. So this is that source material. This is where they got that idea from. This guy Zuko, essentially what he did was he didn't necessarily push him over, but he jumped for whatever was hanging from here, I don't recall, and he fell to his death. And, you know, now the Batman of today would have, like, you know, thrown his zip line thing and caught the guy by the ankle and, you know, saved his life. But not this early Batman. This early Batman just let him fall to his death. First appearance of Robin, or the Joker. Very first appearance of the Joker. Joker starts out as a completely boffo, insane, psychotic killer. So his character really hasn't changed much over the years. He's been a consistent whack job. So, you know, now we know the Joker's killing people. We know that for sure. So, you know, I don't know. Maybe there's something in the Joker that finally convinced Batman to change his way. You know, change his ways and not use guns and not shoot people and not throw people over windows. This one here, Bat shoots. So he's got a gun. He's got a Tommy gun mounted to the Bat plane. So there is precedent for that. These monsters are walking around. He grabs one by the neck, hangs him. There's a second monster doing a King Kong impersonation up on top of the skyscraper. Batman buzzes him, you know, basically gets him all disoriented. He falls to his death. All right. I think this is the last one, or that was the last one. This is interesting because this lady here, who clearly has got the hots for Batman, and he does too. She's not identified as Selina Kyle, but they reference to her as the Cat. So she's an early version of Catwoman, very early version of Catwoman. I guess the first iteration. It's not till later, I think, that they actually name her, but she's clearly, you know, the basis for what Catwoman is. No Catwoman outfit yet or any of that. Then we got a follow-up story with the Joker. And then it ends, but no further murders. And of course, he doesn't kill the Joker. So what do we got? Well, let's count it down here. Fred Stryker, dead. Jewel Thief #2, dead. Dr. Death, dead. The Cossack, Mikhail, dead. The Monk, who's a vampire, dead, but maybe not. Kruger, dead. The Duke d'Auterre, dead. Sheldon Lennox, dead. Count Groot, a.k.a. the Head, a.k.a. Elias Turg, dead. Zuko, dead. Monster #1, dead. I should have had Monster #2, but he's dead too. So there you have it. impetus for Batman, the source material, Batman is a killer in his original iteration. That's it, folks.